Hi there, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm going to be doing the end of year tag. I got this tag idea from Noteworthy Fiction, otherwise known as Nicole, and the original creator of the tag is Ariel Bissett. So without further ado, there are 6 questions and we'll get into it. Are there any books that you've started that you need to finish? The answer is yes, and I actually only have one, which I'm pretty pleased with myself, honestly. And it is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. It was a book club book for the month of June or July, I can't remember which, and I was not in the mood for it at the time because it wasn't particularly summery vibes, so I didn't actually finish the book. And I got about 40% of the way through with the intention of finishing it, but at a more seasonally appropriate time, which would be now. So I definitely think between now and the end of the year, I'll be able to finish Bright Young Women. I was enjoying it, and I believe I had tracked it as kind of on track for a 4-star rating, so I look forward to seeing if I was correct in that assumption. Question number 2. Do you have an autumnal book to transition you to the end of the year? Our book club's pick for the month of September was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Lori Gilmore, and while it was great autumnal vibes, it was still pretty well summer where I'm at. So it didn't really fit the seasonal vibe. So I feel I need another autumnal book to kind of put me into the fall mood. And the book that I've chosen for that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I actually have 2 copies. I have one that I thought was utterly gorgeous that I had found at Indigo. And then, of course, like 2 weeks later in my parents' basement, I found my aunt's copy from when she read it in high school, and it's a fun penguin edition, so I'll end up reading this copy. I prefer reading used books, and I think it's fun that my aunt also read it. I've had this on my TBR for quite some time. When the trailer for the movie came out is when it first popped up on my radar, because I really like the actress in the movie. And pre-cannibalism, I really enjoyed Armie Hammer. Yeah, so pre him getting canceled. I think it's been on my TBR long enough, and ultimately, which I'll talk about probably a couple times throughout this video, I really want to get things off my physical TBR and read them. So this is one step closer to doing that. Question number 3. Are there any new releases you're waiting for? If this was being recorded in September, early September, my answer would be yes. We Solved Murders by Richard Osman was a highly anticipated book for me. It's one of his new series, and I'm actually 67% of the way through it right now. And then the second book that would have been highly anticipated, but it's already out, so I don't have any future genuinely for the end of the year anticipated books, is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. It is book number 2 in the Cerulean Chronicles. I absolutely adored the first one, which is The House on the Cerulean Sea. So I'm really looking forward to this second book in the series. I listened to the first one on audiobook, and so I am waiting for a copy to become available through Libby so I can listen to the second book in the series, also on audiobook. The narrator for the book was absolutely incredible, and I think it really added to my general enjoyment of the book. So for me, it's worth the wait to get the audiobook. My third book is cheating a little. It's Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. It's the 3rd book in the Empyrean series. I really enjoyed Fourth Wing as well as Iron Flame. They're actually behind me right there. Onyx Storm is genuinely the only book in the near future that I'm truly looking forward to. I have it on hold at a local bookstore, and if it doesn't come in time, I will be driving on the day of the release to Chapters to make sure I get a copy so I can instantly start reading. I may even take the day off work. We'll see. Question 4. Name 3 books you would like to read by the end of the year. The first book I 100% will finish by the end of 2024 is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I think I'm about 7 weeks on the wait list, so the second that becomes available, I'm starting a buddy read with my friend. And then the other 2 books that I've selected for this question are in the spirit of finishing books from my physical TBR. The first one is Rue by Kim Toohey, and it is translated by Sheila Fishman. I picked this book up at a used bookstore, and I thought it was interesting because it's about a Vietnamese refugee who goes to a Malaysian refugee camp and then has a new beginning in Quebec. I thought it would be interesting as it's set in Canada, and I don't often read books set in Canada, as well as it was a 2015 winner of Canada Reads on CBC Books. When I first saw it at the bookstore, it seemed really interesting to me, and I thought it would be a good pickup for my collection. Third is Bunny by Mona Awad. I bought this probably a year or 2 ago. It was on sale, and I had been watching Chloe Reads, I believe is her channel, and she adores this book, and her enthusiasm for it is what sold me on it. And I know that it's quite odd, so I'm interested to find out what it's all about. I did try to make this a book club book pick for this month, but another book won out. And I think, either I'll love it or I'll hate it, but I'll be excited to have read it. For sure, it's going to be in the next couple weeks that I start this to kind of go with the vibes of Halloween, since I believe this is classified in the horror section. Question 5. Is there a book that you think could still shock you and become your favorite book of the year? Third time's a charm that I'll be mentioning Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I don't think it'll shock me that it's my favorite book of the year. However, I don't know that I have a 5-star read yet this year, to be honest. And I think it could be a 5-star. I have high hopes for it. So that's my top pick for my upcoming reads that will blow me away. Question 6. Have you already started making reading plans for the next year? Yes, I have. The first one will be 25 books in 2025. That's kind of how I've been setting my Goodreads goal for the past couple years. I think I'll be able to exceed it, and realistically I should increase it, but it's just kind of something I've always done. And I've also mentioned that I want to read books on my physical TBR, so I think I'm going to really prioritize that for next year and perhaps come up with some sort of maybe like a TBR jar or an incentive chart for myself to incentivize myself to read those books on my shelf as opposed to buying new ones. My problem is I buy a lot of books on my Kindle. And so while I'm not purchasing new books for my shelves, it feels like it doesn't really count, but then I'm also not spending time reading books that I already own. I'd also like to expand my horizons when it comes to the genre of books I read. I find I kind of stay in my lane of historical fiction, romance, and a little bit of kind of fantasy sci-fi. So I'd like to change that and kind of open up myself to other genres and be a little more explorative when it comes to the books that I choose to read. I also have plans on starting the Throne of Glass series. No promises. I'm just going to take it slow. I'm going to try book number 1 and see how it goes. I might try that starting around the Christmas break because I think it's the perfect time to just lose yourself in a series. And from the way that my friend speaks about it, I have high hopes that that will be the case for me. However, the ACOTAR series, please don't hate me, wasn't really one of my favorites. So I only read the first 2 books before I gave up. So I'm a little trepidatious about starting a Sarah J. Maas book again that's really hyped and not liking it. But I'm going to go in with an open mind and try my best. Those were the 6 questions for the end of year book tag. I want to thank you for watching all the way to the end, and I hope that I can achieve everything I set ahead of me. I think I can. It's a lot of books that I'm looking forward to reading and that have been on my shelves for quite a while. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Bye!